and welcome. You are listening to A Mom's Guide to Wine. Short stories.
How short? We don't know.
We haven't decided yet. We'll decide.
We'll look up and we'll be like, is it time for us to stop talking?
Probably.
And that's when we stop talking.
That's it. You're welcome.
And we'll say, bye-bye.
This is Eliza.
And this is Rosie.
And we're so glad you joined us for today. Today, we're going to be talking about, camping, traveling, a bit of both.
Well, we've been doing
we tried a theme today.
And so we were like, hey, we should just try to, know that whatever jokes we want to come up with,
they're going to have to do with the stuff we've dealt with recently.
So we had a bit of a plan today.
Yeah.
Before, I'll tell y'all, some of the times that we show up for these short stories, we have no earthly idea. We just know we want to tell each other something we haven't told each other yet.
And it's going to be freaking hilarious for us. I hope it's funny for you, but it's funny for us. So, we'll
especially
find out.
because y'all are getting our honest reactions.
Yeah, lucky you, getting in on the inside scoop. That's not what they call it? You get in the dish. Hot dish.
We'll try and stay away from inside jokes, though.
Yeah.
Because inside jokes don't always go over very well.
No. But that's okay. So, my family and I'm talking about since I was a small child, we've always gone camping in some respect of the word. When I was much younger, we did a lot of primitive camping, so no electricity.
Yeah,
you
that
took
was
all
our
your
style
food
of camping.
and water, and you went in the middle of the nowhere wilderness and you camped. Now that I'm older, I like camping where there's at least an electricity hookup. And we tent camp. We don't have an RV or anything like that. We have a nice tent.
we never had anything that was RV.
Yeah, we don't hook up ACs or heaters. We deal with the elements as they come, but we always camp in a tent.
My husband, he's always raised where they went to a hotel or a cabin or something that was a structure.
Oh, well, that must be.
And
I know
so that's
what
a little different because when I was in high school and we did our little vacation, me and a few of my friends, we went to the beach and we camped on the beach for a week straight.
That sounds terrible.
In nasty weather because it was April.
That sounds
it
terrible.
was nasty. And you know what? We burned trash and wood that we found on the side of the beach because if y'all have ever been to the Texas beach, it's Little Shell and Big Shell. So we drove all the way down to Big Shell.
Okay.
Which is a 3-hour trip going slow down the side of the beach with no exit.
Yeah, you're just
the only
on.
people that go down there are the park rangers.
Yeah, you're just on it. At that point, you're stuck.
And
committed.
As it sounds, there's a lot of big shells. And so that shit is hard to sleep on. And we were intense.
Yeah.
We drove back to town and went to the H-E-B or Walmart or whatever. And we bought some eggshell crate. What are those called?
Yeah, no, they're
like beds.
Egg carton or beds.
They were $10. I don't know what they are today, but this was, several years ago. And they were only $10. And so we bought several of those and we put those under our sleeping bags. It actually worked out a lot better than the first night. The first night sucked.
I wish I had known that back when we camped. I camped on the beach one time and I will never do that again because it sucked so much.
Yeah, it was so hard.
The ground sucks. The weather sucks, and then you're salty and sandy, and you're I haven't even been in the water. I don't know how that happens, and you're this is gross, and I don't like it. But I like to camp where there's a bathroom facility and a shower nearby. I don't mind if I have to walk to it, but I like to be near it.
Yeah.
I have a small bladder, and I need the bathroom
Accurate.
on a regular basis, so I like those kind of camping trips. We've been to a couple of places. We like to camp around Texas. That's our favorite thing to do. And I think the best place we've ever been camping was the Dinosaur Valley State Park.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
I love that park. I really need to go back and take my youngest because I only have been with the two older.
What is that place called? Granbury or what?
Glenrose.
Glenrose.
You're close. It's all right there.
Somewhere close to Dallas.
Yeah, and it's a very nice park. They have nice tent areas. They've got nice RV areas. If that's your thing.
The water is so clean there.
The rivers are nice.
Because they have a spring, I think.
The rivers are so nice, and the hiking trails are well marked, and so you don't have to worry about getting lost. There's some places that are don't go hiking if you don't have experience. Well, this is not one of those parks.
Yeah, like Big Bend.
Yeah.
You got to plan that kind of a trip.
One day I'm going to do that one, but the little one has to be a little older. I don't think he's old enough for Big Bend yet. But we hiked Dinosaur Valley. We did the river. They have if y'all don't know, Dinosaur Valley is called that because dinos were there and died there and all that fun stuff.
And there's tons of fossils and tons of tracks
in the mud are very cool.
Every time I had surgery, my parents would do something special for me before I had surgery.
Yeah.
And so one of the years, I remember I was older, so I was in college age. And they got me in the car, didn't tell me where we were going, and that's where we went.
Aww.
And it was so cool. And so I'm obsessed with dinos. And I'm pretty sure I've mentioned that.
Just a few times.
But what was really funny is there's these big, they're not really like monuments, but they're like plaques that they printed and put up, so they're a little sturdy. And it talks about, like, during the Great Depression, people would go and cut the footprints out of the riverbed rock. Because it's like big slabs of rock out there. It's like a limestone,
It's like stuck.
And so then you got like a really nice piece of rock that's got a footprint on it, and they would cut out these footprints, and then these gentlemen during the Great Depression would go out on the side of the highway and sell them for $2.
$2?
And I want to know where all these footprints are. Are they just like family heirlooms? They're keeping them locked away in homes? Because I've never seen one of these in a museum.
I've never seen it. Yeah, because you would think it would be like, this is from Glen Rose,
And if you
Texas.
go down to the river, you can see the big holes. They're just cylindrical holes in the rock.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Anyway.
You can go down there and, like, put your hands
This isn't us, like,
body.
saying, oh, you should go on the same trips as us. I'm sorry. You can tell your stories.
But, oh my God, this place is amazing. Cool. So, the park rangers, while we were there, they did activities for kids. And so, they went, like, on a scavenger hunt and a dino dig. It was really cool. Anyway, my favorite camping trip in the last, 8 years, that's been, like, the top one. And then, I was trying to think what my worst trip was. I would have to say it was this past summer with my parents.
You said that with so much regret.
It was just, the intention was very well meant. It should have been a lot of fun. It was fun, but the weather just sucked. So, my dad lives in New Mexico, and so he has a boat, and he said, hey, let's meet up at a lake. And let's go boating and camping. And I thought, this sounds like great fun. It's New Mexico. It's cooler in August there than it is in Texas.
Hopefully.
Wrong. It was 100 degrees.
Nice.
And the breeze was hot. So you were getting blown by hot air the entire time. It was 100 degrees during the day, and it was like 97 at night.
Which is terrible on the water.
It sucks. And we're camping in a tent. And there's no, like, the breeze is, like, stagnant at night, so there's no breeze at night. We are literally sweating all night long. Miserable. But when you got on the lake during the day, it was lovely. The breeze was cool. It didn't matter it was 100 degrees out because the water was 60 degrees. So you get hot, you just boop in the water. I don't swim in lakes, but my children do. So they had fun. And then we're out on the lake our second day there. And this storm rolls in out of nowhere. Like, we knew it was going to rain in the area, but this is not what the weatherman was talking about. And the next thing I know, it's like wind is like whipping our poor boat around. And then here comes the rain. You could see it moving across the lake. And we were like,
no.
And so we're trying to drive away from it because we're thinking, it's a big lake. Like, maybe we could go from one side of the lake to the other and, like, get away from it. Wrong.
And you do not want to be on a boat in bad weather.
It was one of my
electricity will hit you.
Scary experiences, and so it's blowing so hard.
And boats can catch fire on water.
I believe
FYI.
it. I believe it. So everybody else that's on the lake is also trying to hustle off because it came up out of nowhere. And we're trying to make it safely back to the dock so we can get out of our boat. And the rain is like pelting us. And I got the little one tucked up under a seat, and his big sister's, like, laying on top of him to keep him protected from the rain, and he's laughing because he thinks this is hilarious. And the adults are the only ones that are like, this is really not that funny.
This is really dangerous.
This is really not that funny.
Need to move on.
And he thinks it's great. And by the time we reached the dock, the rain stopped.
Of course.
And so now we're cold and wet because the rain was cold. And it's not warming up. It was like in the 70s, and the breeze that was blowing was cold. And so now we're cold and we're wet, and we're like, let's get the boat out of the water. We get the boat out of the water. We go back to our campsite, and it is drenched. Everything is drenched. Our pillows, our blankets, our tent.
Get away from it.
Our tent has water standing in it. It was awful. Thankfully, we were smart enough to put our suitcases in my car, so the clothes were not wet. So we changed out of our wet clothes and we put on dry clothes. So that was nice. We were not uncomfortable, but we had spent the rest of the day like hanging our tent up to dry, hanging all our blankets out to dry and our pillows and like anything we could like hang on something, we had to hang it up. Done. Because we don't want it to mold. Like, we all are going home the next day.
Yeah.
The next day we're going home. So we sucked it up. We had another tent. I had brought my tent. We slept in my dad's tent, and we popped up my tent the second night, or the third night. And we slept in it, but we only had a blanket each. Because we had stuff, like, we had wrapped things, like, because we were transporting a bunch of stuff. And so we had wrapped stuff in blankets and to transport things. So some things were inside of vehicles. We pulled those out. It didn't matter if the dog had slept on it. It was a pillow.
It was being used.
And so my son had his little stuffed animals. So we divvied those up once he fell asleep, and we used stuffed animals as pillows because there's literally nothing else to sleep on. Like,
that's great.
The air mattresses were wet. Our cots, we had cots. Those were wet. Like, it was just...
So if
it could be a shit show, it was a shit show.
We did go camping a lot as a kid, and so I did learn a lot of moments like that where how you prepare, because you have to figure out how to deal with it in the moment.
Yeah.
And then you learn for the next time, right?
Yeah. And you don't get to go home. You have to suffer through it.
Yeah.
You don't suffer through it.
So this one time we were camping, I don't remember where because I was very young, and I was the smallest, and I do remember that they wanted to update some of our stuff, so we got a new tent.
Ooh.
And so this is the first time we were using this tent, and it had like interior zipper areas, right?
Like walls?
Yeah, like
those are nice,
wall.
so you could divide it.
And my grandparents went, and they also got air up mattresses, because this was like back in the day when that was like a really cool thing to do.
That's super fancy, yeah.
And so they got these little air up mattresses, and my mom and dad were on one, my sister was on one, and then my grandparents were on one. And I was in between air up mattresses. I do remember that. And it came down really hard, rain, and there was a leak in the whole top of the tent. Like, the whole top of the tent was leaking. And it started filling the tent because the bottom of the tent wasn't letting any water out.
Uh-huh.
So they started floating. And I was in between them. And so what I had done is I made myself a little cocoon with my sleeping bag.
I like that. You have to understand, she's like also modeling what she was doing, so it's even better on my end. She's making a cocoon.
Fetal position inside of a sleeping bag that was water resistant. And so I was doing that, and apparently because also as a child, I didn't like bring anything to anyone's attention. Like, I just
suffered
dealt with whatever, didn't matter what it was. And I was just going to deal with whatever it is. And that was just my mentality. So I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting there in my little tiny sleeping bag, and there's just water all around me, and they started floating. And that's when my family woke up, was because they felt like they were moving. And
you're like, hello.
They snatched me up, and then we all went and got in the cars, and we only had 2 cars, so we split up between the 2 cars, and we all laid out in the cars until the morning. My mom was so angry. She took that tent, threw it in the back of the car, took it up to the whatever store it was that she got it from, and threw it in a basket and drove it into the store, sopping wet, water going everywhere. And she took it in there and goes, "This didn't work. Here's my receipt."
And what's better is I can totally see her doing that too, being like, she's not
a very large woman. She's a very petite person, and she, when she's adamant,
she has a commanding presence.
Yes, she has a very commanding presence when she wants to have one.
Oh yeah,
she's very kind, very flighty type of personality. But then when she's upset, she's upset.
Yep.
And
yep, I can see her. I can actually imagine her being like, yeah. And I'm returning this.
Yes. There's just water everywhere. And there I am. I'm sure I was like 7 or 8-ish. And I'm just bebopping along behind her. I'm like, this is normal. This is fine.
People totally return tents with